I, F21, am jealous of my twin sister, F21. My sister and I are fraternal twins, which means that we don't look alike. We did pretty much the same things at school and we go to the same uni, but about a year ago she got a sugar daddy and her life has been completely different. She has a nice apartment in the city and she's been traveling, and I feel crazy and bitter that she gets to do all these things. BC, she's prettier than me. Recently she wanted to start a business and her sugar daddy introduced her to some people who want to invest. I know I'm supposed to be happy for her, and she's never thrown it in my face or anything, but when I have to bust my ass to get anything I want and I see how she can just float through life, it just makes me feel so mad. I love my sister and I love that she's succeeding and happy, but I don't know how to stop being bitter about it. I don't want to ruin my relationship with her. BC, lately I feel like I've been really snarky and rude and I don't want to be like that. How do I stop being angry at her? Does anyone have any advice on how to not feel bitter about all this?
You're young, so I understand your feelings now. But believe me, you'll feel so much better later knowing you can function independently and not be handed things in life. Her sugar daddy won't be around forever. Investors won't stay forever if she can't actually run a business, etc. You are doing yourself a favor now, setting yourself up to enjoy the same accomplishments later in life, something you will have earned. Again, I know it doesn't seem like it now, but you are the lucky one.
Therapy to work through these issues, as they seem like they've been around a long time, and ignore these people tearing your sister down to build you up. Making it about how much better you are than her because at least you don't have a sugar daddy will hurt your relationship in the long run.
I mean, I kinda get that, but it's just hard to see all these doors opening for her. BC, she's prettier and there are pathways that'll set her up for success.
Have you always compared yourself to your sister, or is this a recent development? If the former, I would recommend speaking to a professional to help you narrow down the root of your feelings. Something I've personally realized is that comparing myself to others is a sort of personal torture. Focus on yourself and what you want to accomplish. Do you really want to spend your life sad over things out of your control? Or do you want to be happy with all your achievements? Your sister is doing her own thing, and I guarantee you her life isn't always easy, but it's her life and she needs to live it.
Yeah, therapy is a good shout. I really don't want to tear my sister down. She's a wonderful person, it's just bitterness from me. It is a sugar daddy arrangement. She told me about it when it was first happening, just to make sure she's safe and stuff. But yeah, this has been for a while. Growing up it was very clear that people were more favorable to her. BC, she was prettier. The comparison has always been there, but for a long time it didn't affect us. Through school it didn't materialize into anything more, but now it seems like more doors are opening for her and pathways that aren't accessible for me. But it's a fair point about focusing on what I can do.
Not everything is about looks. It's also about what you're prepared to put out. Not everyone who puts out is attractive. Once you guys properly hit the real world, you'll see that.
Definitely ignore a majority of the comments here. I think therapy would be a good next step. If you can, I would try to suss out one that has a more neutral view of work. I know on the surface all you see is your sister's lavish lifestyle, but there's more going on with her and her arrangement than just, I had a guy pay for my dinner and now I get a new handbag. Yay, her job is a full-time romantic and relationship with someone she probably isn't actually attracted to. She has to be emotionally available for him and able to cater to whatever relationship needs he has while probably having her own ignored. She'll have a really hard time finding an actual partner for herself as long as she's with him. Because even if her sugar daddy is okay with that, most partners would not be. She's also probably hyper-aware of the fact that her income and potential investments could stop at any time, and her job is very dependent on how she looks. You mentioned she travels. Does she travel with him? Because in that case, she still has to spend the entire trip playing the role of the perfect girlfriend.
Set her up for success as long as she keeps selling the goods. It isn't a life for someone who wishes to maintain their self-esteem as an independent person with power over their lives. She's a worker with a rich client. That may last, it may not, but it's not something she has any control over. You will have achieved what you earn. Everything she has is at the behest of someone else.
I think this is something you should unpack in therapy. And I also think maybe distance from your sister would help you a lot in developing your own interests and not trying to subconsciously compare and compete with her. You're different people and have different lives, but that's true for literally everyone in the world. You're comparing because you're too close. If you want a sugar daddy, you should look into that. I think seeking arrangement is still around, but I think you're glamorizing work and only seeing the positives, but a lot of it is really tedious and involves doing a lot of emotional labor for men who have never really learned those skills.
You're jealous of your sister. Ha 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 2023. The grass is always greener. You're not seeing what she has to put up with from sugar daddy. Weird stuff. Weird old people smells. Wiping his bum. A feeling of being owned. The pressure to be on all the time. The anxiety that it could all go away at any moment. Have your freedom, and many would envy that.
If you're jealous because she's ahead by banging some rich old guy, I think you're focusing on the wrong thing here.
It sounds like her sugar daddy is helping her network. Pretty privilege exists. It will take her far. Don't discount that.
I'm not judging your sister, but she's not getting all these opportunities just because she's pretty. She's getting them because she's pretty and willing to sell her body for benefits. Again, not judging, but it's an important distinction. It's not that life was just raining success down on her because of her appearance. Instead, her appearance just attracted a guy who was willing to do certain things for her as long as she did certain things for him in exchange, and a lot of people would not be willing to make that trade. Her experiences and luck absolutely have a price tag attached, and that price is a pretty hefty one. And her ability to pay those prices has an expiration date, because there's a point where guys like her patrons start overlooking her and searching for a younger model.
It's not because she's prettier. She's made choices that you've chosen not to. Perhaps it pans out, perhaps it doesn't. The only way not to go insane is to focus on yourself and your life, or you end up being jealous of every OnlyFans girl making 6 digits while your PhD gets you occasionally having to shop in the basics aisle. Oddly specific.
Good for your sister for her success. BYT, don't count yourself out. Hopefully her business does well and she's not perpetually tied to those investors and sugar daddies, because that's not sustainable. You're very young and you could choose a path that could end you up in just as a lucrative and fulfilling spot, but without the strings attached. I'm telling you, there's nothing better than freedom. Feeling like you owe somebody your body and energy they did something for you is not a good feeling.
Yes, if she is very competent in business, then this access she is getting is a force multiplier. If she is it won't help, is also slowly and insidiously damaging how she relates to men, romance, and this damage will not really show itself now, but you better believe it will later in life. Will she be capable of a healthy, loving relationship in the future?
Your sister is living a transactional life. I have no issue with sugar dating or prostitution, which is what it is. But I do recognize that there's some darkness to it a lot of the time, and the girl is usually totally faking it or convincing herself to be into it. Do not be jealous of that path. Recognize that it's difficult and can end in an instant, among other issues. You are taking the more difficult road, but one that isn't mired in transactional.
Lol, is that part of the contract to wipe his?
I mean, it might be. Only the two parties involved know for sure.
Is up with glorifying sugar daddies. Shushers, you are not. You win.
It's because she's pretty and uses that as a way to do work.
How do you know that? Sugar baby can mean a variety of different things, but it's unlikely she's putting in 40 hours per week. I mean, sure, maybe, but you can't assume that.
The people he's networking her with likely know she's a 21-year-old sugar baby. There's an unfortunately high chance that when her sugar daddy dips, they will as well.
Those doors are opening because she has chosen to take part in a form of work. She is not just existing as is exchanging activity for these things. She is working for access to these things. The work she is doing is risky and hinges on the whims of one specific client. I mean, do you want to hang out with the kind of guys who hire sugar babies anyway? It's also the kind of work that can be a stain, a dirty secret, in other points in her you could choose to do so. If you wanted to, I'm sure your sister would help you learn the ropes. If you wanted to, I'm sure the two of you could rake in way more from guys who fetishize. It doesn't sound like that's what you consider heavily the realities of the work your sister is doing while dealing with your jealousy.